I've gone ahead and finished out the rest of this. So here's the 6 and the 5 that we did, and here's 4. Here's the 2 and the 1 and the 3 all on there. So that's looking really good. Now, the thing I want to do is save this. Okay, now I have been saving it as dice, but this is a good version to save as is, in case I want to go back and change it later for whatever reason. All right, so as you're working in Modo, you want to save things incrementally. Meaning, if you go up here to File, we already have our initial dice saved. Now we're going to hit Save Incremental. So keep an eye on the name of the scene right here, dice.lxo. We hit Save Incremental. Now it's dice 0001. Okay, so we have 2 versions of it now, so we can always go back to that first one if we screw this up, where we've got all those selections. Now I'm going to select, use selection set, choose the dots, and all the dots become selected because I saved them as I was building. So now we can have a little more fun. We can go in here and choose what we want to do with these. So I'm going to press B, which is our bevel tool. Okay, you can find it under the basic tab, Polygon Bevel. And if you just click once, you get a little handle here, and you can click and drag the handle to pull these in, pull these out, which is kind of nice. I don't think I want to do that necessarily. I want to use the other handle, which is our inset. And we're going to inset that just a little bit. Okay. Also, notice the values right here. You can manually go in and punch things in. So let's say I just want this exactly at 8 millimeters. And then hit the Tab key or Return. Make sure your mouse doesn't start running away on you, which is always good. And then you can see we've got a nice little inset there. So what would I do now? I can bevel again, I can move them, I can extrude. Well, all I really want to do is just bevel again. So to do that, I'll come in here and close just so you can see. Hold the Shift key and click, and that resets the bevel and then bevels that selection again. And now I can inset that. Okay, so bevel is a multiply tool. You're adding geometry. Notice the category here, add geometry. So I've added geometry twice for those selections. Okay, and I'm going to pull it just about there so it's even. Spacebar turns off the tool. I can hit my question mark, rotate around a little bit. They all look pretty good. That's just a little fun feature in Modo. It can be fun, but it can also be really annoying if you hit it by accident. Let's click a blank area here to deselect. So now you've got true little divots in there. All right. Well, we're not done yet. Next thing I want to do is go to Edge Mode up here, and I want to save. Command S. Now I want to go to Edge Mode and double-click each edge, like this, like this, like this. Okay, and what I'm doing is holding the Shift key as I'm double-clicking. So Shift, double-click, hold the Shift key, double-click, and the double-click selects everything connected, which goes all the way around. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting all of the edges all the way around, and I'm missing one. Okay, now if that happens, just undo and try it again. Okay, it looks like I went a little too far. Let me try and... So what I'm doing now is redo. So it's Command Shift Z on a Mac, Control Shift on PC. Okay, so this edge right here doesn't like going all the way around. And that's going to happen sometimes based on how these polygons are shaped. And when that happens, you just manually can do a selection like this. Now, I don't want all of those. I'm just running my mouse across. So I can hold the Control key and deselect the ones I don't want, select the ones I do want, and so on. So the reason this double-click selection to go all the way down this edge didn't work is simply because of the way I've beveled and changed these slots, changed these polygons. Okay, so we're set there. I'm going to create another selection set just in case. Assign selection set. We'll call these edges. So I don't have to do that again. And then I'm going to save incrementally. So now I've got the original one with the flat selections, my second one, which is actually the first one, with the bevels and then the edge selection, and now this other one is going to be our edge bevels. So we're going to choose bevel again, and then we're going to click and drag. And notice down here my round level. I've got that set. It's probably defaulting to 3DU if you haven't used it yet. But I'm going to click once, twice, 3 times a lady, and just round out that edge. And as you click and drag, you can choose how much you want to bevel. So you can really kind of come out like that. We can subdivide it a little bit more. You know, I don't want to go that far, but I want to show you that, hey, you know what? You can give it kind of a unique look just like that. But this is also something to consider if you wanted a really fat bevel, and now I made these polygons come right to these edges. Well, that could be a bit of an issue. All right, but it could also be kind of a cool thing too, simply because look what I'm able to do with those bevels wrapping around there. Now I'd have to go and rebuild the corners of it because what's happening is that they're overlapping because I'm just simply beveling too much, but it could be a neat look. Well, that's not what I want. I just want to round out these corners a little bit, kind of like that. Okay, spacebar turns that off, click to deselect and save. Last thing we're going to do, press the tab key. All right, now what the tab key did is turn this into a subdivision surface model. Okay, little hard to explain just by looking at this. So I'm going to press Shift N and create a new scene. And let me turn this thing upside down. Shift click a box. Now if I hit the tab key, that's what happens. Okay, what it does is it turns these flat polygons essentially into curves. Okay, but because there's no structure within here, it just looks like it turns into a ball. Now if I subdivide this one time, hit the tab key, it doesn't do it quite as much. Okay, well what's happening here is if you go to the object right here, down here, if you look at some of the properties here, and let's go down here to our controls and pull this up so you can see it. Okay, under surface right here, see the subdivision level? It's set to 2. That's a subdivision when you hit the tab key. What that means is, and if you go to the cage, you can see kind of the original too. What that means is every patch or every polygon, in this case 4, is subdivided 2 times. And the advantage of this is you could choose some of these tools like this kind of drag tool, this transform tool, and drag these edges around and get this kind of neat shape because every polygon is being subdivided. If I didn't have that, well, that's what's happening. Everything's very stiff. Okay, so the more polygons I have, each one of those would be subdivided. All right, so when I go back to the die, if you take a look, it didn't really change shape that much. It just really cleaned up all these edges because my subdivision level of 2 is subdividing this polygon, and it's subdividing this polygon, and this polygon, and this polygon 2 times. And I get this really nice clean surface. If I want to go a little bit further though, because I want a sharper edge, that's not a problem because all I have to do is come into these edges now, double click, which will select the entire edge loop. So I chose edges, double clicked. I can bevel that edge and then sharpen that out. And I probably don't need a round level of 2, just maybe, or a 3, just 2 is fine. But now I've got a much sharper edge in there than I did before. And it's nice and clean. I can fly right up to it. It still has some depth. Looks really good. And this is where the reflection mode comes in kind of handy. Help you pick up some light. See that? See how nice and clean that is? So it's still smooth, but it's got a sharpness to it. So if I come over and I do this one, so come here to this outer edge, double click it, bevel. I didn't pay attention to how much I did before, so let's do it. Let's do 2 millimeters. That looks pretty good. So that's the tab key. That's our initial model. Hit the tab key, and that's our subdivision. So by adding more geometry, we can create almost a hard surface model look. All right. Now you don't have to do each of these at once. Much like when we created the circles, we did it all at the same time. So I can hold the Shift key, double click all of those edges, hit bevel, and then just enter in the 2 millimeters again, deselect, and now I just quickly did all of those. Okay, I don't have to go around and do the other sides, but if you go to RayGL and put on fast or full, you'll actually get a look at this thing with some lighting in it. And there's not much lighting in the scene, and it's a little slower on mine because we are recording, but you'll get to see what this looks like with some default lighting. A better way to do that is to jump over to the Render tab. And I'll talk about this in a little bit. Hit the A key. And so now you can see how these little holes will look really good for our die. Okay. Now you can make them stick out, stick in, whatever you want. You can put them in even more. I just wanted just a little bit like that. And looks pretty good. So let's go on to the next video and I'll show you how to get some surfaces on here. What I'm going to do is go into my other circles and just sharpen up those edges the same way.